So, hello everyone. My name is Alexandru Stefan Stefanescu, and together with Simon Art today, we are pleased to introduce to you the findings of Summer Outlook 2024. I see that many people are still joining, so we can leave 1 more minute before we start the presentation.
Okay, so I think number of participants is stabilizing slowly and steadily. I think we can start now. It's 2 minutes after 14:30. I'm Simon Art. I'm working for Swissgrid, and I'm the convener of the steering group of the seasonal outlook. And it's an honor to introduce to the presentation of this year's summer outlook. We will split our presentation between Alexandru, the project manager, and myself. I'll do a little introduction and then I'll hand over to Alexandru. So welcome everybody. As the slide says, different risks are addressed within different time frames. Just to put the seasonal outlook a little bit into perspective, into the adequacy assessments that are performed by ENTSO-E and other assessments. So we have in the long term the TYNDP, 10-year network development plan. It looks ahead more than 10 years, and it's basically used for grid planning, not so much for adequacy, let's say. Then we have in the midterm the European Resource Adequacy Assessment, subject to regulation. This one looks ahead 10 years, and actually the target methodology is to look ahead 10 years in a yearly resolution from 1 to 10. And then the more we go in the direction to real time, the shorter the time horizon becomes, of course. For 6 months, a period of 6 months ahead, that's now the seasonal outlook. That's the one that we are looking at today. And 1 week ahead is then something called STA, a short-term adequacy assessment, and it's a rolling forecast horizon of 1 week ahead, and then it goes into real time. And of course, the uncertainty increases with the term length. The further you look ahead, the more uncertain the future is. And with this, I am actually already at the point where I will hand over to Alexandru. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. So hello again, everyone. My name is Alexandru, and I am the project manager of Seasonal Outlook since this January. So this is the first project that I brought forward. In this edition of the Summer Outlook, we have 2 key methodological improvements that we wanted to mention in this presentation of results before we delve into the numbers. The first one being the Pan-European Climate Dataset, the version 4. This is a dataset developed by Copernicus Climate Change Services, and it marks the first time where we transition from a historical reanalysis of the weather scenarios to climate projections. What this means is basically that we are going from taking historical data and putting them in our models to actually running climate models, 3 of them to be precise, and trying to understand what is the impact of climate change into our weather scenarios. For this, all 3 climate models are aligned with the shared socioeconomic pathway, which is a trajectory of CO2 emissions. And this is a major improvement, especially for the summer, because this is when, at least in Europe, the effects of climate change will be more impactful. So we consider this to be a big improvement, and Summer Outlook 2024 is the pioneer study for this dataset. Secondly, we have a major improvement in how we collect our data this year, so in the data processing, through a new tool for pan-European market modeling database. This new tool is an automated cloud-based extract, transform, load process architecture, which basically means that all of the data collection now happens through a tool that enforces data validation checks during the upload process, which not only saves a lot of time, but also means that the quality of the data will be greatly improved in terms of not having any layout issues or data or less data issues at least. And it streamlines the process of updating and fixing these issues. Moving on to the data, the input data submitted for this year, we see in the trends compared to past summer a sharp increase in renewables, mainly through PV, which increases by 60 gigawatts, wind increasing by 14 gigawatts, and hydro by 2 gigawatts, which brings a total increase of renewables to about 75 gigawatts. And in comparison, we see a decrease in fossil thermal capacity, with coal decreasing by 6.6 gigawatts, lignite by 4 gigawatts, so coal and lignite by more than 10 gigawatts decrease, and then oil and gas decreasing also by around 4 gigawatts. Compared to last summer also, we have a more favorable planned outage schedule. So as you can see for the summer of 2024, for most of the summer, there is less planned outage compared to the summer of 2023. To dive a bit deeper into the thermal generation availability, you can see that the thermal generation is decreasing towards midsummer, or at least the planned unavailability is decreasing towards the midsummer, hence more availability of the thermal. And then we have a minor increase of unavailability at the end of the summer. Out of all of the thermal units, the nuclear shows the highest levels of unavailability. In terms of our adequacy results, for this year, under normal market operations, we do not see any risks in continental Europe. However, we do see risks in the islands. As usual, we have risks in Cyprus and Malta, and we also see risks in Ireland. And when we consider non-market resources, we see a significant decrease in this risk in both Ireland and Malta, whereas the risks in Cyprus stay the same because there are no non-market resources provided in the region. Of course, there is a continuous monitoring done both by TSOs and by regional coordination centers to make sure that these risks are managed. And to go deeper into these 3 zones of risks, the situation, as I said, is continuously evolving and is being closely monitored. But if, as you can see on the slide, all three of these zones have risks under multiple criteria. First of all, high unplanned outages. So when we see very high forest outages, then we can see some risks in these islands. But not only this, these high unplanned outages have to be coupled with either unfavorable weather conditions, as is the case in Cyprus, or by relying on aging thermal units, as is the risk in Ireland. And we see that for both of Ireland and Malta, the reliance on non-market resources makes the risks almost entirely disappear. This more or less concludes the presentation. The last point to mention is indeed that there is a continuous week ahead monitoring through the regional coordination centers to make sure that all of the synergies that the TSOs can use to shed all of the adequacy risks through the summer are being applied. So this concludes the presentation for today. It's a quick one, as always for the summer. However, we have the Slido open for any questions from your side. We will be waiting for 1 or 2 minutes in case there are any questions that appear in the meantime. And if not, we can close the meeting early. I will leave the presentation on the core slide of our results.
While we are waiting for 1 or 2 questions or more questions, I can just add that the report has been published. It's available on the ENTSO-E website already, so feel free to download it and read it. Yes.
So I already see a question from Flavio. He asks whether risks only refer to undercapacity risks or if they are also referred to surplus risks. For this edition of the Summer Outlook, we only refer indeed to generation being available to the level that is needed by the demand. So the undercapacity risks, as you put it, we do not consider for this summer outlook any downward regulation or any risks associated to overgeneration on the grid. However, this is a planned development for the near future. Then I see another question whether similar risks are seen on islands that are interconnected to the mainland grid. So if you refer to an island like the UK, then no, we do not see such risks. Also because the interconnections between the UK and continental Europe are higher than islands like Cyprus or Malta. And the issues we see for Ireland are also relatively reduced and only happen in extreme weather conditions.
So there is no direct interlinkage between seasonal outlook and the short-term adequacy assessment. However, the STA is a cooperation between the regional coordination centers and the TSOs, and constant data updates are established there. So of course, the data that the short-term assessment uses are, let's say, more up to date and much more actual than the ones we use when we look 5 months or 6 months ahead.
I see another question by Flavio on clarifying what we mean by non-market resources. So in our study, non-market resources are any units that can be available on short notice to provide electricity, however, are not available on the market. So in the case of both Malta and Ireland, the non-market resources are gas oil-fired power plants, which can enter the market on short notice.
I see a question by Vitek Veseli. Have you considered higher non-availability of nuclear plants in case of droughts? No. Weather per se is included by the climate years, but the nuclear availability will rely on the maintenance schedules that are submitted to us by the TSOs. And as we could see in the presentation, there's quite a high share of non-availability of nuclear plants already by taking account these maintenance schedules. But what Vitek asked if there was a sensitivity for this. No, there was no sensitivity for this. Anonymous asked, how does the climate scenario impact this analysis? Is damage of infrastructure via natural disasters also modeled? Not in this analysis. This would be the place would be like the risk preparedness the assessments within the framework of the risk preparedness regulation, where these kind of scenarios are analyzed.
So I see that the questions that came in were answered, and I do not see any more questions coming in at this moment. So I would like to thank all of you who joined the meeting and actively participated with the questions. I would like to also encourage you to please go on the website and see the report for yourself. And if there are no further questions, I think we can close today's public webinar.
Yes, so thanks a lot for your attention. And goodbye, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.